The Secret of Dragon's Tooth Cove. The sun was a bright lemon drop in the sky when Nigel and his best mate Colin stepped onto the crunchy pebbles of Saltmarsh Bay. They had their backpacks tight, their boots laced, and a whole day of adventure stretching out before them like the endless blue horizon. Nigel pointed toward the towering cliffs at the far end of the beach, known by the locals as the Dragon's Tooth. "That's where the real secrets are," he declared, his eyes sparkling with excitement. As the tide retreated, it left behind a world of miniature oceans in the hollows of the rocks. Nigel and Colin spent the morning hopping from stone to stone, peering into the clear, cold water of the rock pools. They saw darting shrimp, stubborn limpets, and a bright red starfish that seemed to be waving hello. "Look at this one, Colin," Nigel shouted, pointing at a pool shaped like a perfect star. The beach soon gave way to the steep, narrow paths of the cliffs. The wind whistled through the long grass, smelling of salt and wild thyme. Nigel led the way, sure-footed and fast, while Colin followed, carefully checking every handhold on the rocky path. They were climbing higher and higher, the seagulls circling above them like tiny white paper planes caught in the breeze. High up on a ledge, hidden behind a curtain of thick, leathery seaweed and tangled vines, Nigel spotted a dark vertical crack in the stone. It was a secret doorway, invisible from the beach below. He reached out and pulled the greenery aside, revealing a cool, dark passage that smelled of damp earth and ancient mysteries. "I think I found it," Nigel whispered, his voice echoing slightly against the stone. Colin stepped up to the opening, clicking on his heavy metal flashlight. The beam of light sliced through the darkness, dancing over wet walls that shimmered like silver. He felt a shiver of nervous excitement run down his spine. "It looks deep," Colin whispered, gripping the flashlight tightly. "Do you think anyone has been in here for 100 years? He took a brave step forward into the shadows. The tunnel opened up into a wide, sandy cavern where the ceiling was draped with stalactites. In the very center, half buried in the soft sand, sat a heavy wooden chest bound with rusted iron straps. Nigel and Colin knelt beside it, their hearts thumping in their chests like drums. Together, they gripped the heavy lid and heaved it upward with a loud, protesting creak. Inside, there were no piles of gold or sparkling diamonds. Instead, Nigel pulled out a tarnished brass compass and a stack of old, rolled-up maps drawn on thick parchment. "It's a navigator's cache," Nigel exclaimed, holding the compass up to the light of the flashlight. The needle still spun, pointing faithfully toward the north just as it had for the sailors of long ago. Suddenly, a low, rhythmic booming sound filled the cave. Colin looked back toward the narrow entrance and saw a spray of white foam. The tide was turning, and the waves were beginning to lick at the bottom of the cliff. "Nigel, the water!" Colin cried out, pointing at the cave mouth where the light was starting to dim as the sea rose higher. They didn't have a second to lose. Nigel tucked the old compass into his pocket, and the boys scrambled back through the narrow passage. They reached the ledge just as the first wave crashed against the rocks below, sending a salty mist over them. They hurried down the cliff path, sliding and laughing with the adrenaline of their narrow escape, the treasure safe in Nigel's pocket. As the sky turned a soft shade of violet and orange, Nigel and Colin sat on the grassy dunes, looking out at the submerged Dragon's Tooth. The compass sat between them, a silent witness to their discovery. They didn't need gold to feel rich. They had the map of the stars above them and the best story in the world to tell when they got home.
It's time